Yeah, I know, this video is certainly overdue, and I would have gotten it uploaded earlier this week, but so much got slammed at me at the last minute that I had to attend to, so that's why I'm finally talking about this movie now. But now that I'm finally able to make this video, let's talk about War Dogs. So War Dogs in the beginning focuses primarily on Miles Teller. He's a massage therapist who literally goes to rich guys' houses and massages them there, and he makes shit money off of it. Which at first isn't that big a deal until his super hot girlfriend tells him that she's pregnant and now they're gonna be a family. His girlfriend really is hot, I mean, holy shit. But the point is, Miles Teller now knows that with a baby on the way, the kind of money he's making now, he's just not gonna be able to take care of a family. And for a while, he has no idea how he's gonna try to make money until he runs into his childhood best friend, Jonah Hill. I mean, when these two were in high school, they would smoke weed all the time. They'd get into a lot of trouble together. They would never get in trouble for anything that was super serious, but it was the kind of stuff that their classmates would see and look at them as legends for it. I will say this right now, I really loved Jonah Hill in this movie because it's straight away from what we traditionally see him as. You know, in a lot of the movies he's in, he's just that really nice and awkward kind of guy. No, in this movie, he's a fucking asshole. He's really brash, he's very arrogant, and you can tell throughout this movie that Miles Teller is never entirely sure if he should trust him. One scene in particular that I loved is Jonah Hill is trying to buy him and Miles Teller pot from this group of guys. So he gives them $300, but then they refuse to give him any drugs. So Jonah Hill literally goes to his car, and out of his trunk, he pulls out an AK-47 that he just fires into the air to scare these guys off. A bit random, yes, but it was awesome. So anyways, as the two are catching up, Miles Teller explains the situation to Jonah Hill, how he's just working as a massage therapist, really not making enough for, you know, what is coming for him. And here's where Jonah Hill tells Miles Teller what he's been doing for a living. And Jonah Hill tells him that he is a war dog. And what that basically means is he's someone who receives a government contract to supply the military with the weapons they need to perform the tasks they do in war. Jonah Hill is insanely good at his job. He is making a killing for himself. He's currently supplying weapons to the troops in Afghanistan, and he tells Miles Teller that he's getting to a point where he could use some help with this. And here Jonah Hill tells Miles Teller, hey, why don't you quit your massage therapist job, come and work for me, you can basically be my partner, you'll do what I do, you'll help me out with that, I'll give you a third of whatever it is we make, and I promise you that will be enough for you to provide for your upcoming family. And of course, Miles Teller agrees to go and work for Jonah Hill, but he refuses to tell his girlfriend anything about what they're actually going to be doing. Because Miles Teller knows that if he tells his girlfriend exactly what he's doing, which is supplying weapons to the military, not all of it in the most legal way, she's going to have a heart attack over it. And for a while, everything does seem it's going well for Jonah Hill and Miles Teller until they run into a delivery problem with some of their weapons. In fact, it is that much of a problem that the two of them have to fly into Afghanistan, go into this truck that's hauling all of these weapons, and get them to the US military. And this whole scene is insane, it's ridiculous, it's intense. There's this one instance they get stopped by Afghanistan patrol so they can search their truck. That put me on the edge of my seat. But even more so when these terrorists just start coming after these two, ready to kill them. Luckily, the two have their asses saved by the US military, and the US military sees the two of them as badasses for apparently driving through the triangle of death to deliver these weapons. So for that act, Miles Teller and Jonah Hill are now awarded with a $300 million contract from the Pentagon to continue to do this. It all seems like it's well and good for the two of them until Miles Teller's girlfriend finds out exactly what it is that he's been up to. She's of course furious with him because he kept that a secret from her. He lied to her about a lot of this. So with that, she feels she needs time away from Miles Teller, and she takes their newborn daughter with her. But things start to kick in even more with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller when they get offered a new business deal from Bradley Cooper. He wants them to smuggle these missiles that the US military can use, but there are 1,000,001 problems with that. And it is these problems where Miles Teller and Jonah Hill start to butt heads a little bit more. Because for one, Bradley Cooper is on the USA's watch list for people who may be involved in terrorist acts. This has Miles Teller, of course, concerned whether they should go along with what this guy is telling them to do, but Jonah Hill's alright, oh, don't worry about it, man, it's all gonna be fine, it's all about the money. But to make matters even worse, these missiles are apparently Chinese, and they can't send Chinese weapons over to the US military because that's a big no-no in the law. So now Jonah Hill and Miles Teller, they go to this factory where the missiles are preparing to be shipped, and they have to ask the guy who's running it to apparently mask them that they look like US US missiles. Something that not only Miles Teller isn't entirely for, but also in the fact that he's the one who's basically been at this warehouse conducting all these business plans, and Jonah Hill's been off just doing whatever his heart desires. This has Miles Teller infuriated with Jonah Hill. They get into a pretty heated argument on the phone together. They still went through with the operation. They sent in the missiles. No one believes that they were Chinese. But once Miles Teller gets back to the US, he discovers that Jonah Hill is now refusing to pay him his 1/3 of the deal. And that is the last straw for Miles Teller. He is prepared to now sue Jonah Hill for what he thinks is rightfully his. At this point, Jonah Hill is basically half-assed trying to make a deal with Miles Teller. He's like, hey, I'll give you $50,000, which is nowhere near what you feel you deserve. The two of them just hate each other at this point. There are no signs of a settlement anywhere between them. But apparently none of that is necessary anyway, because the FBI has apparently been doing its investigation to the two of them. They now have the proof that they forged those missiles to pretending to be USA, and now the two of them are arrested. However, the ending of the movie shows that they were really giving the harshest of punishments. I mean, Jonah Hill was sentenced to like 4 years in prison, and Miles Teller was sentenced to 7-month house arrest. Really not that bad. I thought these two were just gonna get nailed for what they did. So all in all, I will say War Dogs was a very interesting movie. Jonah Hill and Miles Teller, they killed it together. I especially loved Jonah Hill in this movie. It was a very different take for him. The movie has solid writing. It has a very intriguing story. It's amazing that something like this actually did happen. However, I will say this movie doesn't really have a lot of replay value. It's not a movie that I feel I need to go out of my way to see again. And the movie also wasn't as funny as I was hoping it would be. I mean, this movie's directed by Todd Phillips, who directed The Hangover, which is easily one of my favorite comedies of all time. So I was really hoping I'd be laughing a lot more in this movie than I actually did, so that was a bit of a disappointment. But in the end, I still think this is an enjoyable movie, and I think if you go in knowing that this is more of a biographical movie than a comedy, you can enjoy this movie for what it is too. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.